Making our headlines today, Friday, March 6th. A motion to limit social media access for children under age 16 passed unanimously in the House of Parliament. Police are encouraging the public to stop, think, and verify following advanced cyber threats. And John Gray High School is a 2026 intersecondary champion school. Good evening and welcome to CIGtv News, your official source for the latest and most accurate government information. I'm Lavita Thompson. The House of Parliament continued its fourth meeting with a packed agenda, passing 6 bills and 4 private members' motions. Among the legislation passed unanimously were amendments to the immigration transition, health insurance, and virtual asset bills, the latter establishing a regulatory framework for the tokenization of virtual assets, mutual funds, and private funds. 4 private members' motions also passed, including a motion to limit social media for children under the age of 16, a move described by Premier Ebanks as brilliant, citing growing concerns about youth mental health.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move private members' motion number 10 of 2025-26, standing in my name, which reads, limiting social media for children under the age of 16. Whereas the government of the Cayman Islands has a duty to safeguard the welfare, mental health, and healthy development of children and young persons. And whereas a growing body of evidence indicates that intensive use of social media is associated with increased risks of anxiety, depression, sleep disruption, as well as cyberbullying, online exploitation, addictive behaviors, and exposure to age-inappropriate content, the scale of which presents population-level mental health concerns. And whereas children under the age of 16 are in a crucial stages of cognitive and social development, and evidence of potential harm from intensive social media use justifies precautionary age-based protections grounded in children's welfare principles. And whereas multiple jurisdictions, including Australia and several European and Asian nations, have either proposed or enacted legislation recognizing such measures as appropriation, child protection interventions, rather than limitations of freedom of expressions. And whereas this Honorable House recognizes the positive role of digital technologies in education, creativity, communication, and economic participation, and affirms that responsible digital technology use is compatible with strong child protection standards, and that these measures seek to delay rather than permanently deny access until an appropriate age and stage of cognitive maturity. Be it therefore resolved that the government considers the introduction of legislation to prohibit access to social media platforms by persons under the age of 16 within the Cayman Islands as a child protection and public health measure. And be it therefore resolved that the government considers that any such legislation should place primary responsibility for compliance, age verification, and enforcement on social media platforms operators, and not criminalize or penalize children or young persons. And be it therefore resolved that the government considers that social media platforms shall be defined as digital service for social interactions and content sharing, and shall exclude educational platforms, messaging services used primarily for private communication, essential service required for schools or public services. And be it therefore resolved that the government considers that the proposed framework shall include regulatory sanctions for non-compliant platforms, where ensuring safeguards for data privacy, user rights, and constitutional protection. And be it therefore resolved that the government considers accompanying legislation with public education initiatives including digital literacy programs for parents and accessible mental health resources for young people. And be it therefore resolved that the government considers that the legislation shall be subject to periodic review to ensure it is consistent with constitutional protections and remain consistent with human rights obligations and the principle of proportionality. And be it further resolved that the government consider commencing stakeholder consultation and legislative drafting without delay, recognizing the urgency of protecting children from and preventing preventable digital harm, and affirms that this resolution shall not be construed as an endorsement of censorship, surveillance, or content-based regulation, but as a child protection and public health measure grounded in evidence, proportionality, and the best interests of the child.
A motion on national public safety for mask wearing was also unanimously approved. The House also reconvened this morning to conduct additional business. You can watch the sitting on demand on the CIG YouTube channel. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Cybercrime Unit is warning the public to be hypervigilant following an increase in sophisticated cyber attacks against businesses. We spoke with Head of Cybercrime Investigation, Mr. John Watson, to learn more.
Hi, I'm John Watson. I'm the Head of Cybercrime Investigation for the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. Yeah, we have seen a significant rise in what we call business email compromise, or BEC as we refer to them. This is where companies are having their email accounts compromised. That's either through poor password hygiene or falling for malware. Once the actor has control of their email system, they put in keyword searches, so anything to do with money or invoice, instead of being sent to the owners, are sent to them, where they examine it and intercept. So they're basically man in the middle or woman in the middle, where they're intercepting emails that are meant for the company. They then will send out an email to another company with a link. The one we saw last week was a PDF, which was kind of oblique, and on the top of it, it says view PDF. Now that was actually a malicious link. And I would say most people, myself included, would not recognize that at first glance as being a malicious link. But once you click on that, you're in trouble because you've already done it. And because the email came from the company, the initial company that had been compromised, it does look legitimate. But for me, it shows the importance of what we say about stop, think, and verify. I think the days of trusting implicitly emails that come to you, particularly those that ask you to click on something, they're gone. That's just not the world we live in anymore. And you have to think, well, is this a legitimate link? So we would suggest you contact the people by a system other than email, phone them up and say, hey, did you send me this? If they did, then it's good. But if they say, oh no, we didn't do it, then that's the time to get in contact with my team, and hopefully you've prevented crime on your own unit.
To learn more about cybercrime risk and to report malicious online activity, visit rcips.ky. Now for today's sports news. John Gray High School has once again claimed the Intersecondary Athletics Championships. The three-day competition concluded yesterday, March 5th, following an energetic day of final events. Impressive performances took place in the 200-meter and 400-meter races, but it was the relays that proved to be the most exciting events of the day. The Department of Education Services noted a number of new records for youth, track, and field, and said that multiple students qualified for CARIFTA, CARICOM's regional athletics competition. Congratulations to all students and those from John Gray High School for a job well done. Time now for a weather forecast. Moderate winds and seas, along with some isolated showers, are expected across the Cayman area over the next 24 hours as low-level moisture and instability linger over the northwest Caribbean. Radar imagery shows few isolated showers around the Cayman area moving towards the west. Tonight, we will have cloudy skies with a 40% chance of overnight showers with possible thunder. Temperatures will fall near the mid to upper 70s. Winds will be easterly at 5 to 10 knots, while seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. The outlook is for similar weather conditions through the weekend as moisture and instability linger across the region. For local weather updates, be sure to visit the Cayman Islands National Weather Service website, weather.gov.ky, and follow their Facebook page for the most reliable coverage. If you're watching us on the CIG YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed with the facts straight from the source. That's all for today's news brief. I'm Levita Thompson. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.